This new vid is from a topic from Hunter Man, how dogs got along with other animals. It's something that's been talked about throughout the history of the breed, and it's been put out there. And it just shows the breed in a different light. Anybody involved with the real American Pit Bull Terrier knows that they will hunt almost anything. They will engage with almost anything. Any animal on 2 legs and 4 legs. Some are human aggressive, but that's a small percentage in the big scheme of the breed throughout the years, decades, 150 years here, maybe more, and 300 years and before that in the UK, and thousands of years before that in Mesopotamia and Sumeria, Egypt, all that. I spoke about that history. The fighting dog wasn't known to be human aggressive. One of the reasons, or some of the reasons, I think, is because if they are, you can't handle them. And even if they're one-person owners and they're aggressive towards outsiders, you can't sell them grown. Someone can't borrow it to compete with it or use it. You can't give it away as a gift. Now, it takes some expertise to handle man biters, but the average dog man, or most dog men, dog women, they don't want to deal with that. There's some that don't mind it. There's some that deal with it. But for the most part, you don't want to. It goes against dogs being man's best friend and being a companion, a protector, and all that stuff. It just goes against the grain. Not to say it doesn't happen, but that's why it's a small percentage. Most people weed it out. I certainly did. I wouldn't tolerate them anymore, and I had them before. To me, it's not a badge of courage. It's not a one-upmanship on someone else that I know how to handle man biters. It's not a positive thing. And the same can be said with dogs that get along with pit bulls that get along with other animals. That too is a small percentage because they're not bred that way. They're not bred for that. The ones that do, I think, are intelligent enough to understand for, a couple of reasons. They're able to understand that this other animal isn't a threat. There's no confrontation. The dogs give signals to each other, and the other animal cows down to the aggressive pit bull to be submissive, so it understands the pit bull's being aggressive. So it gives the sign that says, hey, I don't want no trouble. I had that happen to one of my dogs who would hit anything. And it just so happened we're at home, and I had him inside the house. I forget why I was going outside, but I didn't want him to go outside, and he got past me. That happens, I wasn't too worried about it because where we live is just a bunch of old people, and there wasn't really people out and about. But at this particular time, at this particular hour of the day, there happened to be a guy out there with 2 female, looked like collies. My dog saw him, man, and he headed straight for him. And I knew at that point I was going to be in trouble. This is going to be a problem. He's going to hit one or both. He's going to kill one or both before we can break him up. The guy's going to panic. He's going to call the cops. All this shit's going through my head in the in the 50 yards it took for him to get there, or 50, 100 feet, whatever it was. I was in the house there in the middle of the street, across the street and on the next street, going in the other direction. It just so happened when my dog got there, 100 miles an hour, these 2 females cowed down to him, were real submissive, and he stopped. And the owner goes, he's good. He did good. He did good. He's not going to hurt him. I said, yeah, he thought maybe they were a threat. You know, I just tried to talk my way out of it. He thought maybe they were a threat. They didn't show they were a threat. He just acted normal. And he was okay with them. I snatched him up, took him back in. Got lucky. Dogs are intelligent. They will do that. Even dogs that are aggressive. Most of my dogs will hit anything. Males, females, puppies, horses, chickens, frogs. Didn't matter. Squirrels, rabbits, coyotes. It did not matter. A down dog, their opponent, did not matter. They would scratch to it. Didn't matter. But Big Red, and he was that way too. I used to show him off to people, kind of show him off. They would come over after he was retired, and I had my box pretty much always set up in the back patio. And I would show people him. I'd take him in the box with nothing there, face him in the corner, spin him around like I'm facing him off, and he would scream looking for the other dog. Just holler and scream, just uncontrollably, just waiting. That's just the way he was. But in his older age, he got more mellow. And as long as I was there, I could control him, you know. If nothing showed aggression towards him, he was okay. If they did, he was still okay. But if he got close and they grabbed him, then it's on. Kind of like that. And before that, he wasn't like that. If he got loose in the yard, he's hitting whatever's there or whatever he don't like, or whoever talks shit to him or whatever it was. Once again, this is all history. Nothing meant or intended for legal purposes. I'm just showing the nature of the breed in the past. So don't take anything I say as any kind of information or schooling or anything like that. I'm just, from my experience, showing you how the breed behaves in different situations, different mentalities of them. So Big Red was just that way. One time, you know, my daughter used to have tea parties with him and all that, dress him up and paint his finger, all this stuff that some people do. That was her companion, and he was her protector. And I guarantee you, he would have protected her or any one of my family members with his life. And he wasn't that way. He wasn't aggressive. He was the least aggressive dog towards humans that I had. You could do anything with him. Kids could pull his ears and poke his eyes and pull his tail, you know, small kids. Step on him, nothing, not even a reaction. The most he would do is move away. One time his chain broke, right? My neglect. Me and my brother were standing at the kitchen door outside, and he was, you know, 10, 15 feet away. We had him chained up right by the house all the time. His chain broke. He just walked over to us and walked inside the house like he normally would do. He didn't search the yard. He didn't cut loose. He didn't run away. None of that. Another time we're taking him to the vet. That same daughter who did all that with him got away from us. You know, she was still in diapers, usually right there, and we're real protective. We watched this and that. We had all the kids with us and a couple of nephews and all that, and she started walking towards the road, and Big Red just walked over to her, grabbed her by the diaper, pulled her back, edged her back. So he was very intelligent in that respect. And like I said, at his older age, he wouldn't be aggressive unless you faced him off or something hit him. Even if he was breeding a female that would turn around and try and bite him, grab his ear, or whatever it was, he would just try and ignore it. He wanted to breed. There was a picture in the old Sporting, I think it was Sporting Dog Journal, might have been Game Dog Digest or whatever. Whichever one, I believe Boston Blackie ran, editor of the magazine. I think it was that. It might have been a Sporting Dog Journal, because a lot of these guys that have other magazines, they still advertise and received the journal back in the day. But it showed his two dogs, champion Blackjack Bronson, and grand champion Daisy May, laying together. They got along together. But Blackie would always say, you know, I had to watch them, you know. I had to be there. They got too rambunctious playing, he'd have to separate them and settle them down. Sometimes with a stern voice, that's what helps. I've seen Dunleavy's Bucky dog, which was Garrett's Joe. He was inbred brother-sister off of Jeep and Kate. He was raised with a cat, this mother cat. And this I'll get into a little right after this story. But he was raised with a cat. Now, he would hit anything. He was chained up next to a picnic table. Those big wooden picnic tables. And there was a horse in the field. About a quarter mile away, he could see it. Once he saw that horse, he just went off. And he went to attack it. And since he was tied up, he grabbed the picnic table, started biting it, chewing it, fighting it like that, and he broke a tooth, top hanger. But with that cat, he was submissive. That was like his mother. She would discipline him by swatting him on the face. If she didn't like what he was doing, he'd hold his head down, say, like, "Sorry, Mom," He'd walk in his area, sleep in the house with them, whatever she wanted to do. Which was weird because that dog was a psycho, man. But with this cat, he was submissive to her because he was raised with her. Now, that's the thing I think that helps sometimes. Whatever the animal is, whether it's a cat, dog, bigger than the pit bull, smaller than the pit bull, if they're older than the pit bull or older than other dogs that you bring in, then I think they have a better chance of getting along with them. And it could be a cat. Now, they might hit every other animal of that species that doesn't belong in that house, that's not part of that family, that they're not familiar with, that they weren't raised with. But that one particular animal, or those few animals, whatever they are, they won't attack them. There's a hierarchy involved. And sometimes it's better to have an older female with a younger male, or an older male with a younger female, and they get along, they won't fight. My daughter always has dogs, different kinds of dogs. She's got shepherds, she's had boxers. She's reluctant to get pit bull because it would be a hassle if you got the wrong one and you raise it and it eventually doesn't get along. That's the thing. Even though that's not true all the time, that they're going to get along if the other dog is older or other cat is older. That's like on a one-to-one basis, depending on the individual, the situation, and all that. So she's just reluctant to get one because if it doesn't work out, then what is she going to do with the dog? She keeps her dogs till they get old and die, and she's had several, and she has all different kinds. But in her household, there's a pecking order, and there's a pack mentality. And the oldest dog she has is a little scruffy son of her favorite dog, was Chewy. He was her protector, and he actually protected him one night by waking him up when there was an intruder in the house. And of course, my son-in-law took care of business, and the cops were called and all that stuff. But they were asleep, and Chewy woke him up. His son, Chester, is their oldest dog and the main dog. He's the smallest one. He's even smaller than the little Shih Tzu they have. He runs the household. Nobody messes with him. He's old, got cataracts, one tooth. Even she has a big shepherd like that, and she just brought in a little German shepherd puppy that she's going to use for, she'll obedience train them and protection, all that stuff. So she's always had dogs, but this little dog runs the house. Nobody messes with them. And the little Shih Tzu's a female, so that's okay. They're probably going to breed at some point. And the biggest dog is a female. She's spayed, but she's submissive for the most part, except when they brought the little Shih Tzu and she had to do some corrections with him because that was a new member of the family, and it was a female. So sometimes there's that if they're the same gender, female to female, they can, sometimes they don't get along. They're competing for that role. So there's a lot more examples. Why they do it, I think, again, it's the intelligence of the dog and how they're raised. A lot of it has to do with their training, upbringing, the person that's involved. If you're an aggressive type of person, you give off that kind of energy. You're a competitive type of person, you give off that energy. You're a dominant type of person, you give off that energy. The dog can pick up on all those things and show that type of behavior. But if you're calm, and this works a lot with women because the way they talk to dogs, like they talk to children. If you're calm, that can be a benefit too to making them behave. And once they understand, then they can follow suit. Now, my friend Joseph, the mink man, he gets all his dogs to behave, and he's had pit bulls before, and he has one now. Probably his best ratting dog is a pit bull named Bindi. If you watch his show, you'll see that she's on there, right? She hunts very well. She hunts rats, she hunts raccoons and beavers and all kinds of stuff. Maybe even coyotes, I don't know, but that's his profession, and she's good at it. And Bindi gets along with all the animals. She listens to him. He has a way about him where he can get a dog to do whatever he wants it to do. He has a lot of experience for his young age, and he grew up around dogs and horses with his grandfather and all that. You know his story if you watch his show. But that's just the reason I mentioned that is to show the expertise of a person that can make dogs do that. Now, I've always said, I had some dogs that, Mr. Rowdy, there's no way you're going to teach him to be that way. At least I wasn't. And I don't think even most expert handlers, trainers, or whatever could get him to behave. Even if they got him from a young age because he was just that way. From the time he opened his eyes, he's fighting something. All his litter mates play fighting with his mama and all that. I had to separate him first. He was just that way. That's why Angie bottle fed him. Too much dog. So I think in a lot of cases, there's dogs that you couldn't make them get along. And maybe some of the best experts, dogs that you didn't think would be able to get along, they could get them to get along. I never tried. I didn't care. I mentioned before, I had them for one reason, for competition. I wanted them to act like a bulldog all the time, 24/7. That's what I wanted them to have on their mind. I wanted them to be manageable. I wanted them to be able to be handled by anybody, even children. And children would be safe around them because when they're not doing their thing, which is a very short time in their life, they're regular dogs. So they can be used for hunting. They can be used for companions for children and protectors for children. They can be manageable around other animals sometimes. I just think it speaks to the intelligence and the remarkability of the breed that you're able to do that, right? Where they can, depending on the situation, they can change up and they can behave here. Even some dogs that are on the chain, wild and act crazy and real active and aggressive, you bring them inside and they behave. And they're good and they're intelligent. I had several dogs that we could do that with. And they could discern from people coming to the home who was good and who wasn't, who had bad intentions and who didn't. The ones that the dog felt had bad intentions, I'd have to put the dog up. Put them in a kennel right in the house, but not too far away. And they might growl a little, and I tell them to be quiet. They still had that thought, man. If I cut them loose and this person did the wrong thing, they would attack them, I'm sure. And these are dogs that didn't attack anybody, but they can tell there's a threat. And as far as getting along with other animals, they can tell if there's a threat. And they can tell when there's no threat, there's no confrontation. They know what they can do. So a lot of times I think that's why they aren't aggressive towards other animals. They have nothing to prove. They know they're capable of smashing them, and they don't. There's no reason to in their mind. There's some that, like I said, it doesn't matter. They're going to hit it, whatever. It could be their hunting instinct, could be their prey drive, could be their confrontational competition side. So again, this is kind of a short video. Just wanted to touch on that. I'm sure you guys have your own experiences, and I see a lot of it on the internet, you know, different videos of dogs getting along. My warning or my advice is never leave your children alone with your dogs, small children. Never have them loose when you're in public. Don't let them interact with other dogs. Even if they get along with them, they'll pick up some kind of disease, some kind of bullshit they get, whatever the other dog has. You know we take good care of our dogs. The general public generally doesn't. They do the regular maintenance and that's it. They're lucky if the dog gets his hair clipped every now and again, much less dewormed and vaccinated. So I'm seeing that more and more, which is good. It's good to have them out there, put them in a positive light. But just always be careful. Don't let them run loose. Don't let them interact with other people or other animals. It's not good to let strangers pet your dog, and you shouldn't be petting strangers' dogs. Keep your distance, right? If they're your friend, family member, they're part of the family, you get to know them, you come over the house, you guys, visit each other and all that, the dog knows you, that's great. The dog will know who belongs in the house and who doesn't. And especially when you're gone, if someone comes and knock on the door or breaks in, that dog's going to react accordingly because they know that person does belong there. And that's an aggressive act towards their home and their property. And they'll do it naturally without any training. I've seen that dozens and dozens of times, and I've had my dogs do the same thing. And dogs in my family members and friends have had dogs do the same thing. So it may be a little bit of a mystery why they do it, how they do it, this and that. You just have to observe your own dog, spend time with them, and try and figure out why this particular dog does it, and maybe another dog, brother, sister, sire, dam, whatever, doesn't. It's a good study to learn, and I have a lot of respect for people that have dogs like that and for the dogs themselves that are able to do that. Nothing wrong with it. So thanks for watching. More on the way.